Hi, welcome back to Repairing Lawnmowers for Profit. In this video I'm going to take a look at this Ryobi petrol leaf blower. I bought this locally. It wasn't very much money. I think I paid £20 for it if I remember rightly. And it starts and runs and it's kind of okay, but it doesn't run exactly as it should, I don't think. So I'm going to show you the faults I think I've got with it, and we're going to sort of go through this together. I'm going to strip this down in a little while and we're going to see if we can get it running a little bit better. So let's get started. It's an awful day outside today. Got an hole in my garage roof, look. Side, that's like a side door panel off a Ford Focus out of a box. Anyway, someone's coming to pick that up tonight. I've sold that for £60, believe it or not, so that's going to be £50 profit. But if you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so and tick the bell notification. That'll keep you up to date on all the videos. But it's a horrible, horrible rainy day. You can probably hear it. So I'm in here. But this is kind of like a school report, this Ryobi, I like to call it, because it starts and runs okay, but it could do better. So the problem I'm having with this is that there are three ways that this actual choke works like this. You see, you can twist it. Wow, it's raining hard now. Anyway, I've just been through these procedures on here, and I'm going through this cold start procedure, which I presume is this blue one, and I can get it started and running. So I'll do this, I'll prime it 5 times, I'll put it across here onto full choke, which is like this, all the way across. You can see here it says full choke, all the way across is like that. Wow, it's raining hard now. So that's full choke. I can do that. And then it says to pull this little button under here and pull it over 3 times. I can do all that. Then the next thing to do is put it on half choke before you start it up again. So turn it once, like that, and then start the engine. And then once you get it running, turn this choke completely off, which will be in this position. But the problem I've got is that I can start it okay here on this choke, and then I can put it onto here when it starts running. It'll run okay, and it'll run full revs on this throttle here. But the problem is when I actually turn this choke off and go for full power, this actually bogs down. So these are kind of new to me, and I have to give a big shout out to Steve Brayshaw, who's Brayshaw's Garden Machinery. It's up in Perth, so if you've got any needs there, give Steve a look, because he's helped me out, and he's sort of basically teaching me quite a bit about these little things as I go along, because I've not done too many of these, but while I'm out here doing all these things, learning all this and doing all these servicing, I'm going to sort of film all these videos as I go. So in a minute, if it ever stops raining for 5 seconds, I'm going to start this actual, I nearly said lawnmower then, leaf blower up. I'm going to show you what I mean about it running okay on half choke, which is there, and starting on choke. So it starts on choke, runs alright in half choke, but as soon as I put it onto this one here, which is the inline position, it bogs down. So when it stops raining, I'll take this out and I'll show you exactly what I mean about that. So if anyone's in the Perth area, they're looking for any machinery servicing or anything like that, just look in the description of this video and there's a link to Steve's Facebook page there as well. If you need anything, I'm sure he'll get back to you. And once again, I'll just say thanks very much to him for that, so I really do appreciate that. So let's start this up and let's see exactly what we've got. So let's just go through this startup procedure as it says on this ticket here. They're all a bit sort of finicky, these little things. And once you get the knack of how to do it, they normally start up okay. But the first thing it says to do is prime this 5 times. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll prime this and see, it's just filling up there with fuel, so I know I'm getting fuel through. So let's do 5. That's 3, 4, 5. The next thing to do is put this choke all the way around so it's flat. That's what it says to do there. And the next thing I'm going to do is squeeze this trigger slightly and pull this over 3 times. So let's give that a go. Freeze that. She's done yet. You can see that it runs fairly well in that position. What I want to show is this. See this here? And I actually put this into the full position. Watch the difference. this thing just dies. And I know I haven't warmed it up much, but believe me, I've been out in the garden, I've given this a good 5-10 minutes to warm up, and as soon as I put it in that position and try and increase the revs, this thing just bogs down. Basically it's no good when it's fully off choke, so we're going to strip this down. We're going to have a look at a few things. So yeah, the rain on this roof isn't too bad, you can actually hear me here, but it is coming down quite hard. But I've been watching a few videos on these. There's a channel on YouTube called, I think it's called Steve's Engine Saloon. It's the one where he always has a beer with him. I ain't got a beer in here, but he always has a beer. Well, he's always got a different type of beer, and he's always doing loads of these, and these videos are absolutely brilliant. Now, from what I can kind of come across with these, there's a few different reasons, and I'm kind of sure that it's just a blockage in one of the high-speed jets on this carb, although there are these adjusters on the back here, these red and white plastic clips. I think these either adjust or come off, and you can get a special tool for adjusting the high and low of the carb. But there's like high-speed injectors in these carbs as far as I'm aware, and I'm going to take it off and I'm going to make sure they're all cleaned out and put it back together. But there's also a spark arrestor on the exhaust as well, and if that's clogged up with carbon, this will stop it from running properly, and it also causes these bogging down problems as I've just shown there. So I'm going to take off a few parts of this and take off this outer cover, just take this exhaust off here. I'm going to find this actual spark arrestor screen and make sure it's clean and clear. So it kind of sounds like I'm camping in here. It's this garage roof I had put on a few years ago. It's been absolutely useless. It was really cheap, you know, and I didn't really want it to be that cheap, and it's thin and it all bows down where the water comes in. It's kind of like being in a tent. So I suppose a lot of people don't mind the sound of that. So I'm going to take a few of these screws off here and find my metal parts tray here before I start. Even bought myself a spark plug tester. I haven't had one of those for years, but I'll tell you why I bought that in a minute. So I'm going to take these screws off here right round. There's some different style ones. These are all just crosshead ones, and the idea behind me doing this is I want to get to this actual exhaust here, which is sat inside here, and I want to take this exhaust off. So I've got those 3 Phillips screws out. There's actually like a Torx one under here, so I'm just going to get a different tool and we'll take that off. Just got the right bit there. Just undo this one. Don't know why that's a different style, but I'll remember that. I'll put that on the right hand side of this little metallic parts tray. If you ain't got one of these, by the way, these are great. These just, you know, save you dropping all your bits, even if you drop it off the bench. Just got a big magnet on the bottom there. You can see everything just stays in it. So they're really handy to have. So that's that, and that's this cover off. And I suppose I should always do what I do on a mower, which is take this plug lead off here, and I'm going to unbolt this exhaust here. There's just 2 what look like probably 8mm bolts to take off there, so I'll just grab a small ratchet. I'm going to make sure this exhaust's not hot as well. It was an 8, I had it in the wrong place in my socket set, if I'm honest. I went for the right one and it was stuck where the 6 or the 7 was, so that's going to come out of there like that. As I say, there's a little screen in here. It looks like kind of like a little sieve, like a gauze, and if they get blocked up, I've seen a few videos where they won't actually accelerate properly because they get bogged down. It's to do with the spark arrestor. And I've also seen some videos where you get these on 2-stroke like chainsaws, and they're in a really bad place to get to, where people simply smash a hole in them with a screwdriver, and it kind of eliminates any bogging down problems. So I don't want to do that if I can help it. I want to clean this off, but we'll see what state it's in. I understand why people do it if it's a case of binning you know, an expensive piece of kit just for sliding something in and breaking the spark arrestor. This is on there's like a little spring above here, so I'm just going to be careful pulling that off there. This whole thing hopefully should just come out there. It slides off, just for my benefit while I'm filming, in case I forget. This actual heat shield here actually sits underneath this part here, so that's all going to come off and pull out of the way. We'll just take a look around this exhaust here. You can see in here, I'll take this heat shield off. That shouldn't be attached, that should come off now. That goes that way around. Let me just film that. Okay, all goes in line, that's fine. Take that off there. I'm going to try and get this exhaust apart. I want to have a look inside here. So inside here, this is all one piece. Unfortunately I can't get it open, but you can see there's like a screen that sits through the middle. Now I'm not sure if that's part of the spark arrestor or all of it, or if it should actually sit here and it's actually worn away. where this kind of gasket was. I'm not sure, sometimes they sit across here and sometimes they're inside these exhausts, but I can see in there and it looks reasonably clean. I'm just trying to film it on a angle, you can just see that side of it there. Don't look too bad at all. If they're really bad, they're just black soot all over and you can't get any air through. It's kind of the same thing, but it is having just a blocked exhaust which stops these accelerating properly. So I can't do a lot more than that, and I do suspect that this is a carb issue, but I just wanted to show that, and I really wanted to try that, if I'm honest, before I stripped the carb down. I was hoping it'd be dirty, I could clean it off and fire it back up and see if it made any difference, but I want to strip this down anyway, just so I can see exactly what's what. Let's say that it's got this little plug in, so I'll probably take that plug out as well. We'll just clean that plug off. I'll just get this plug socket on here. I was watching a channel called Mix Mowers the other day. It's a great channel, he does loads of mowers with his little lad as well, and he's brilliant, he's really good at doing them, is Mick. And he's got a great, I saw one of these and it had a great big long extension on here. It was much better than mine. Anyway, check out his channel as well. Mix Mowers is it's really good, I really enjoy watching those vids. So that plug looks okay, but I'll just leave that out for now. Just have a look round, I'm just having a look in here, just to make sure that there's kind of no blockages here. See where, I'm just seeing there where this piston is here. You can see it going up and down, make sure there's no dirt, anything stopping that going up and down like that, and that's all looks totally fine, to be honest with you. So I'm happy with that. There's not a lot else I can do with that part. So to make things a bit easier as I go through, I'm just going to take this actual big blower pipe off here so I don't keep spinning it around like Nelly the elephant. It keeps getting in my way, so I'm just going to take that off, pull it out of the way. It's just going to make my life easier. I've only got this tiny little unit to turn around now and work on, which makes my life a lot easier. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take off this air filter box on the back of here. Quite a lot of oil in there actually. I'm going to remove that filter. Put that in a little parts tray there. Not sure if that unhooks. I'm going to unbolt these two bolts in the back of here. You can see these two parts here. I'm going to take those off. I want to get all this carburetor off. And I'm going to strip all this carb down inside here. I'm going to strip this whole carb down. And I'm going to put it in a little ultrasonic cleaner I've got and clean all this out. On the back of my bench here I've actually got this is an old Dentistry ultrasonic cleaner. It was given to me by someone I used to work with, used to do dentistry, and it just vibrates, it cleans the inside of these little carbs that you can't normally get to, and it just vibrates all the dirt off, and they work really well. But they're brilliant because it's just big enough, is that, just to drop these little carbs in. So I've used that for a few little bits, but it's not quite big enough for a lot of jobs. So I'm going to start, as I said, by unbolting these two parts here. We'll have a look at taking this whole carb off. So I've got a 10mm socket here. I'm just going to undo these two parts on the back of this carb. I'd always take photographs, I always say this, but always take photographs of absolutely everything. I've just spent a few minutes now, before I turn my camera back on, I've just taken a few really good quality photographs of all different angles of this carb before you put it back together, where all the hoses go and everything, because once you forget, you're going to be in a mess, and then you'll be on the internet for days on end trying to find a parts diagram, and you probably never get it back together, if I'm honest. You could end up having a real disaster. So let's just take that off there. I've got those undone and everything's loose. I'm just going to back these off by hand one at a time. Just take this air filter box off. I think these are Zama carbs on these Ryobis. They're not supposed to be too good at these Ryobi setups. There's a lot of problems with these when you watch these videos on YouTube, but it's kind of one of the reasons as well that I wanted to get one and see exactly what problems with people were having with them. Because a lot of the bigger brand stuff tends to work a lot longer. There's a lot of people tend to be quite fed up with these quite quickly, so I thought I'd do a bit of investigating and just see what the problems are that people are having. We've got them two bolts off now. Just take this air filter cover off here. Just remove the cover separate. Pull it out the way. Now I get it off, the box drops off. You won't believe it as well, now I've started stripping this down, I think it's stopped raining. So here we have this little carb here. This actual fuel pipe's only just long enough on here as well, isn't it? So let's just try and get that off. Let's get some pliers and pull that off. There's actually two that goes to these. There's one from the tank and there's one that goes from the tank as well to the actual primer. So need to pull these two fuel lines off, making sure I don't get them mixed up, and then this little carb should just slide off here. Let's have a go at this top on here. It should slide along, it shouldn't be too bad. There's a bit of fuel coming out of there, so I'm just going to have to clamp that one off. Wasn't sure it'd come out there, to be honest with it being that sort of high up, but it has. So let's just clamp that one off. Make sure there's no fuel leaking out of there. It's just a little bit more fiddly than the mowers out there. You can see everything's just a little bit smaller, but it's the same principle with everything really, so let's just do that and we'll clip that one up there. I'll find something to put in the end of there. I'm going to pull this other one here off this carb. I want to take some photographs around this side of the carb. So as you unbolt things, you can kind of get more deeply into what you're doing here. You can actually see these linkages. I've just taken photographs of just how everything pushes back together, because everybody does these and think they can remember where it all goes, and you can't. You just, by the time you've got it off and upside down and this carb's in like 3 bits, you'll forget. So I just want to look at this actual choke mechanism. You can see here, with this here, that's on full choke, and the problem I've got is this actual blower will only go to full power when I go like that to half choke, and it bogs down when I actually go the next step, which is all the way open with the maximum airflow going through here. I don't think it's getting enough fuel. So it works on obviously choke to start, and it works on half choke. When I put this at a straight angle here, like it shows you, that's when it doesn't work, and you can see from inside here that that's when this is fully open. So I'm hoping it's just a blockage in this carb, and you can replace these carbs. I think they're about £15, but I don't like to do that. I like to take them apart and just clean them out and try them. I don't see the point. There's loads of videos on here, people just bolt a new carb on for £15, and I think, well, £15, isn't it? If you can take it apart for 5 minutes and spray it with some carb spray and blow it all out and put it back together, that's £15 in your pocket, isn't it? So I'm going to work out next just how exactly to get this off here and out of this linkage. And before I do that, I'm just going to unhook this fuel line here that's actually sat around the back. I'm going to unhook that, and I'm going to clamp that at the top, so that's out of the way. Don't want to forget telling you about that one. So that one runs down here into this tank, and this one I've got clamped off here as well. So I'm going to take that off, just pull it off with these needle nose pliers here. I'm just going to clamp that off. So I've clamped that off there. Just got some needle nose pliers there. I've actually cable tied the handles together just to make a clamp, but I'm going to pull this off. This linkage has to stay through here, I presume. I'm going to pull this off all as one piece. Just slide it right the way off, and hopefully I can get this linkage out of here. I'm not sure I can pull it far enough out to release this linkage. In fact, I can just push that linkage very carefully out of the way. I can remove this carburettor, and in kind of no time at all really, I'm pretty happy with that. I've got this little carb off this actual leaf blower. So these little carbs are obviously a lot smaller than the lawnmower ones, and you can unbolt these at the bottom. They've got like metering diaphragms in, and there's the same sort of thing at the top here of this primer bulb. I can see there's a nice amount of fuel in there. I know it's priming because it all starts, and I've shown you exactly what I'm talking about with this position here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart from the top. I'm going to do what I always do, even with the lawnmowers. I'm going to clean all this off from the outside, and then let's strip this down. We'll start with this top part here, and then we'll have a look underneath here, and I'll show you what everything is. We'll see if we can get it all apart in a sensible order, put it in this ultrasonic cleaner, and then hopefully get any dirt out of it, any of these high-speed jets, as Steve's Engine Saloon showed on his video. I'm going to put this back together, put it on this blower, and we'll see if it runs at full speed with this actually where it is there at the open speed and not just half choked. So let's drop it in this tub down here and we'll have a look. Now, there's quite a lot of little gaskets in these. That's why probably people will just buy a new one for the price of it. Not everybody wants to do that. So I'm just going to get my compressor, forgotten now. I'm just going to blow all this dirt off the outside of that. Right, I'm back. Clean that off. Still want any dirt going from the outside to the inside of this carb here. So see if we can get that one done. That one's really tight. I've got that one. These are very tight to undo. In fact, what I might do is just get a straight edge screwdriver in there, just so I'm not rounding anything off. If that goes in there like that. I'll get the right screwdriver. That's just too big. Just need a thinner one. The last thing I want to do is start rounding anything off, so I can't get it back together. So that's just a sharper edge. You can see the right tool just comes off really easy. Same thing again. Yeah, very tight, so I don't think anyone's ever been in here for a long time, if ever. So yeah, let's just set them off. I always do this over a tub, by the way. There's some tiny little springs in here as well. I actually did one of these the other day, which is why I bought the spark plug tester. Someone gave me an old Ryobi. It was like a multi-tool one where you can put a hedge trimmer on the end and just connect everything to it. But it had a similar kind of carb setup, and he brought it to me and he said, "Oh, it's not priming properly. There's not much fuel in the primer bulb. Can you strip it down for me? And if you can't get it going, then just keep it or bin it." So just take that off there and tip this upside down. I'm going to show you all these parts in a minute. But I did that for him and I got it all back together and we still couldn't get it started, and it was because it needed a new spark plug. So as I always say on loads of lawnmower videos, do the simple things first. Well, because he'd said that to me, it actually caught me out and I ended up stripping it all down, servicing this carb here, servicing one of these like this, cleaning the spark arrestor, putting it back together, only to find if I put a new spark plug in it, it fired up sort of second or third go really. So let's take a look at these parts here. So similar to the lawnmowers, these actually have like a metering diaphragm in here. You can see this is like, acts as like a fuel pump. Some of these look really baggy. This one don't look too bad. There's a little bit of movement in it, but that doesn't look really bad. There's not loads and loads of wrinkles in there, and that just sits on here like that. And this is the part with the primer bulb. So all that goes on there, and just keep that together. Make sure you don't get any of these gaskets mixed up. That's the top half of this carb off. And inside here, you'll find there's actually a little needle in here. There's a needle here, and this can actually be set. You see how it rocks about? It actually rocks about there. See if I can show you a bit better there. This actually moves about because there's a spring underneath here, and this little spring pushes this needle, which is sat down in here, up and down. You can see here to fill this carb, and then it stops it. This spring under here is tiny. I mean, like if it jumps off, it'll probably like land on the moon. Don't lose the spring under there, but you must, to do this service properly, you must take out this actual needle here, and you do that by undoing this little screw here. And what you'll see in a second is this tiny little needle, and this spring drops out. And just before I take it off completely, there's an indentation that from here actually sinks into this little part here, and the bulked part, the bulged out part if you like, sits at the other side. So you'll see there's a little needle here, and there's a tiny little spring on the back there. See that little spring? And I don't want to lose that, because if I lose that part I might as well just go on a treasure underneath my garage bench. So do that in a really sort of confined space, somewhere where you know you can find it when you're putting it back together. Don't lose that part there. Take that out, and then there's the needle here. I'm going to take this little needle out here. So we've got all these bits out the carb. The needle, the screw and that little spring that all goes in here. So that's that side of it. You want to keep all those little pieces and all those screws at one side of your tub. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this bottom one off here, and we're going to actually get as many parts off this little carb as we can before I clean all this out. As I say, I was watching these videos the other day on this, I think it's Steve's Engine Saloon. I'll link to it in the description anyway. It's the guy who always has a beer when he's working. But he really knows his stuff. He's, you know, he's obviously been around quite a while, and he knows the ins and outs of all these little two-stroke things. And this video is absolutely fantastic. So I'll link to that in the description of this video. And all that happened with his is it bogged down the same as mine does, but it just had one of the tiny little holes in it was just blocked up, and it just stopped it going that extra click and running actually at full revs. So let's just take this off gently. As I say, there's a lot of little diaphragms in here. You can see these ones here. There's one on there, and then all the little diaphragms are out the way, and we're just left with this bare carb. Now these are high and low adjusters on the back, and I've not done one of these with this type adjuster on the back, but I think this on these Ryobi parts, these plastic parts here, I think they're just designed, they've got little stoppers on to stop you adjusting the high speed and the low speed. So I'm going to take that off. I'm not sure if I just take this off here or if I take the whole plastic part off. But I've just bought a little tool. I think it's called a Pac-Man tool. You know, remember Pac-Man, the 80s like video game? I think it's called a Pac-Man tool. It's like £2. And it's so you can adjust these little screws in here and set the low speed and the high speed rev. So I've bought one of those, and if it don't have the adjuster in, but it's kind of got a really strange shaped end of it, you can actually get like a hacksaw blade and run it across and create a screw head and adjust them. You should do it from that side, and then you'll be able to actually adjust these screws. So that's all in bits. I'm just going to have a look at this part here, see if I can take this like anti-tamper mechanism off so I can actually adjust it if I want to. See where the settings are. Then I'm going to clean all this out with carb spray and blow it through. And for about 15 minutes I'm going to put it in my little ultrasonic cleaner there. And inside that little cleaner I actually have some seafoam, and I put that in with it as well, and that'll just help out clean out all these tiny little holes. You can see you can't really get right in a lot of this. There's kind of a lot of little intricate little bits as well. You can see here I've just started kind of prizing at this a bit with the screwdriver, but you can see this little red clip here. This is over the end. This is to stop you tampering with these little screws. You can see now there's actually a a little cutout there where I can get to the actual adjuster there, and I can actually get a smaller screwdriver in there like that, and I can adjust the high speed and the low speed of this carb. So all I'm doing really, if I'm honest, is I'm just prizing this off from underneath. I'm just taking this plastic part off just so I can get to the actual adjustment screw. So I'm just going to find a good way of doing that, and I'll eventually just jam this off here and I can get to this adjustment. So they do have adjustments onto these little Ryobi carbs. So I'm just getting the last of this plastic part off here, which is a bit of a pain. You can see now you can actually get to these two adjustment screws which are there. They really don't want you tampering with those. What I need to do with those is I need to actually just find a setting and find out exactly where they are. So to do that I'm just going to count the turns in. So they're normally about a turn and a half out, I think. So, but I'll say that. Watch this. So that's half. That's 1, 1.5, 2. So let's say 2. It's around 2. So I'm going to back that out 2. So half, 1, 1.5, 2. Let's just see where this one's set at. Half, 1, 1.5. So 2 and 1.5. So what I actually want to do with these screws now is keeping them in the right order. I want to see if they're back the whole way out. I want to spray some carb spray through these, because the video that I watched the other day inside here, one of these was actually blocked. I'm pretty sure it was this part. As I said, if I can find it, which I will do eventually after I finish fiddling about with this, I will link to that video. And he blew some carb spray through here. You can see this tiny little point here, and all it was down this little nozzle here was just a bit of dirt, just blocked up, just old stale petrol, gas, whatever you want to call it. And he just cleaned it out. He blew it through with the carb spray and he could see nothing was coming out of anywhere. So he cleaned it all out with the air compressor and some, blasted it through with everything. And the next thing, it was all firing through this carb. He could see it was working right. When he put it back together, the difference was pretty massive. So I'm just going to keep that in the right order there. I'm actually going to keep that part there. So I'm just going to put that there. I'm going to put that back through there, like that. I'm going to keep that whole thing together. They look very similar, those parts. They look the same size. But the end of them is slightly different. One's got a slightly longer point on. See that one? That's sharper than that. I don't think it's broken, but that's the order it was in. And I can see right down the back of here now, and I can blow all this out. In fact, I can actually see in there now. I can actually see there's quite a bit of dirt down the bottom of there. So I'm just going to get a torch. I'm going to have a look down this little hole here. But that does look pretty dirty down there. In fact, let's just get some carb spray. Let's spray through it. Just see if anything comes out of this carb as I'm spraying this through. See, I don't see anything coming out underneath this carb as I spray this here. That's just coming back out the hole I spray it in. The other one, see the other hole? Oh, I get carb sprays coming out of that. When I do it with this one, that I think might be blocked. Let's see what we get. I don't see anything coming out of anywhere apart from back out of the hole that I'm spraying it in. So I'm going to fill this thing with carb spray. I'm going to blow it out with the compressor, and I'm going to show you this little ultrasonic cleaner I've got, and I'm going to leave it in there for around 15 minutes with some boiling water in as well, and some of this sea foam. I'm just cleaning all that up with carb spray, and I just remembered I forgot to show you this. This was actually what was on the bottom of the carburetor. This has this like gasket on the bottom. This can actually just come off as like a diaphragm there. See there on my thumb? That like flicks out the way, and then there's a little gasket underneath it as well. So keep those two parts together. Make sure nothing's too wrinkled up on that. Just give it a clean off. You could actually take these off as well. Just cleaning all these little parts that are down the back of here. See, there's loads of tiny little holes. I've just been blowing through this compressor. It's amazing when you go through one hole how much comes out the other areas, and if that gets blocked at all, of course it's not going to run right. So keep these, actually two parts here. You can see these. You want to keep these the right way. Make sure you put them back on the right way, and also get some carb spray in all these little parts right around here as well. So if you don't, it won't work right. Everything has to be clean, absolutely everything. Even squirting in that little hole there, you can see comes out the one above. It's like little corridors throughout these little carbs, and everything has to be immaculately clean. I've got this little carb here. I've put it in this little ultrasonic. And all I normally do is just get a kettle full of water and just fill all this up. I'll just fill this up with boiling water like this, making sure it gets inside it and everything. Leave a little gap just at the top so it doesn't overflow. I get some of this stuff, I think it was Seafoam or Sea Clean too. I'll just get a cap full of this, stick a cap full of that in. It just helps clean it off a bit. I'll pop that in and then just turn this on here, on like a timer. You can hear it there just buzzing and bubbling away. You can see how these bubbles like vibrate. That just cleans the inside of these carbs and you get all these tiny little bubbles coming out. And hopefully that'll clean out any blockages I might have in this carb. I'm going to leave that on a timer for around 15 minutes. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and I'll come back and clean that off again. Just work through again, make sure it's nice and clean. Make sure everything's exactly right. So I'm going to leave that to cook. I'm going to go get a cup of tea and we'll come back in 13 minutes time. Look at this now, look. No rain, not one bit. When I come out here and test this and it's pouring down, as soon as you take parts off and take it in garage it stops raining. Unbelievable, but that's still cooking in there. I was just going to go get a cup of tea, but I'm just going to clean this off first in here while all this is off. I'm going to take 5 minutes, just clean around all these areas and just clean and tidy up. All I ever see on this two-stroke stuff is these petrol tanks that are like covered in old petrol and oil, and I hate that. I don't see any reason why they're getting such a mess. You know, people just seem to chuck stuff in them, and I know it's not too bad, but ones I've seen recently for sale, it's just got fuel and oil all over them. So I'm going to spend 5 minutes just cleaning that up before I put this back together. Right, I'll just clean this off. Now it's stopped raining. I've just spent 5 minutes with some bit of degreaser and just cleaned all that off in there, just so it's tidy when I put it all back together. I like to do that. When you rebuild stuff up, it's a lot nicer to do if everything's clean and tidy, you're not working in a mess. So got this compressor out here. I never did get a cup of tea, by the way. I started doing that and starting this lawnmower up, make sure it starts. I've got someone coming for that, as I said. So let's just see how this is doing in here. This is still cooking away. It's at about 15 minutes. You can see how it works, can't you, just by the movement of the water. It's quite clever stuff, is this. You can find a small second-hand one of these. If you're going to do a lot of these, it might be worth getting one of these. As I said, this is just a real old dentistry one. This is an ultrasonic cleaner. It's only tiny as well. It's not really big enough for the lawnmower carbs, but it's great for just getting out the internal dirt on little carbs like this. It's great because you can see it's all just bubbling away and just taking off any old like varnish fuel from the inside of this. What I like to do before I put anything back together now is I get the other half of one of these little tubs here. I like to take everything that's been kind of sprayed up in carb spray and just take it out and put it in a different tub so it's all clean and dried off. Just dry it off on your kind of on your way past, if you like, and just put it in a separate tub, and you're not working in all this old fuel and carb spray when you put everything back together. And make sure you don't lose this tiny little spring. That's the worst thing you can do on one of these little engines with these little carbs on, is lose that little spring. It's so simple to do. Things like taking photographs of these tiny little parts. As I said, which way around this indentation went on this video at the beginning. I showed exactly how to do it, and you've got to look back sometimes just to remember exactly which way around everything went. These little plastic clips are just to stop you tampering with the settings, the default settings that came with this Ryobi blower. I'm still not sure what type of carb it is. I know the other ones I've done were Zama carbs. It's got the number C1U on it as well, so you can have a look at that. And I'll pop all these parts back in here. I'm just going to dry that out now. We'll get rid of all that. And I've got it in a nice clean tub. I've got a clean little engine outside, which is sat on my bench just drying off a little bit to work on. And in a second, when this clicks off, I'm going to take this out of here, blow this out with the compressor, and we'll have a clean and tidy carb to put that together. I'll also spend 5 minutes just cleaning this air filter unit off as well. Right, so this is about done. I think there's about a minute left on that. Just going to start this mower up in a minute. As I said, I've got someone coming. I haven't started it for about 4 days, but that's done. That's just clicked off. So I'm going to take this out and I'm going to hopefully not burn myself. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to blow this through again with the air compressor, and hopefully any internal parts of this that had a blockage in now won't have any in. So that's great. That's a really handy piece of kit to have. Not really essential, I suppose, but it just gives me half a chance of getting any dirt out of the inside of this carb. And if I'm going to plan on doing sort of hundreds of these as I get better at doing them, then I want the kit that can actually clean these carbs internally, rather than trying to spend £15 on a carb every time. You know, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to use as much of this carb as I can. And if I need to buy a carb kit, such as these little metering diaphragms, then I'll buy those. So before I lose this part, I just want to show you this little spring. What I normally do is drop this needle in here and hook this little linkage thing over the top here, and then push the spring in, and then what you can do very carefully is press the whole thing down like that, and you can get this screw back in. So what you need to do apart from doing that is get this little returning pin to go back through this actual part here. Press it all down with the returning pin in, hold it in position, then you can get this screw in here and put this back together. Now this is fiddly to do, and I've seen quite a lot of videos where people just kind of show you it and it's back together and everything's fine, but I'm actually going to try and do this while I'm filming it as well. So I'm going to get all the parts together and we'll have a go kind of live on camera if you like and put this back together. So I'm going to get this little part here and I'm going to put this retaining pin through it, as you can see, just like that. It says Tommy Cooper again. Put this little needle on here, and it's really easy to lose these, so just be real careful what you're doing. I'm just going to drop that in there all as one piece. You can see this actual little pin here moves across, and obviously you've not got the spring in there, so the trick to doing this seems to be to kind of get this half in with the retaining pin where you want it. Grab this little spring here, and the spring doesn't really push very far into anything, so I just like to kind of slide it underneath here. I've had a few goes at doing this in the last few weeks, just messing about. So what I like to try and do is get all that part together, as I've said there. Get this little spring in here first and pop it in. You can see there like that. It's really difficult to do. If you've not done it very often, it's really even more difficult to not lose the part, so just be really careful. So I'm going to get that there, and I'm going to hook it under this needle here. I'm just going to press this whole thing down, see where this spring goes, see how it tries to pop out, and it just takes a bit of patience just to get everything exactly where you want it and put it back in. So this might take me a few minutes, but I'm going to film some of this because I want you to have a watch of this and just see exactly what it's like when you're kind of doing it, because it's a bit of a pain, to be honest with you. I saw a video with Donny Boy. A lot of people watch Donny Boy's channel, he's brilliant as well, and he did one the other day and I can't find the video I watched, and he showed a really good way to do this without losing a spring. He kind of clamped everything down with his thumb. I can't find that video at all, but it was real good where he did it, and his channel's fantastic as well. I've always watched that. So let's just give this another go. Let's try it this way. Let's try to put this spring underneath here. It's just a big test of patience, really, just to get everything exactly where you want it and press down in the right place and not lose it all, you know. There we go, nearly got it, and that retaining pin's just come out slightly. Just get that back through there, then the spring's in a reasonable position. So there we go. What I want to do is get this, hold my thumb on there and hold everything together, get this little screw here, and what this does is it locks that retaining pin back down. If I get this little screw here and put that in, that should hold everything together. And you know you've got this right, because this part, when the spring's sat under it right, just moves about a little bit. You can see there, let's just see if I can film it. It actually jumps about, it actually moves like that. It should actually spring. And I see a lot of people that just bend this slab, like tab up slightly. Apparently it should lie kind of level with the surface of this carb, and this looks a little bit low. So I'm just going to take a really flat-headed screwdriver and just slightly lift that up a bit. Just bend that up a little bit. It just gives it a little bit more bounce. It might just help this metering diaphragm. When we put that back in, that feels a little bit more springy, and this needle's got some definite movement on it now of it going up and down. So I know the needle's not sticking. I know everything's clean and tidy. I'm going to build this carb back up. What you have to be careful with these little metering diaphragms here is all the holes line up, because there's actually tiny little ones that make a difference, like this little one here. You've got to make sure it corresponds with what's on the carburetor, like this tiny little hole there, because you could kind of get it on like that and think, well, that's screwed back together, but the problem is you'd be covering this little part up here where that actually sits. So you've got to make sure you get everything back in the correct way, which is why I suggested at the beginning taking loads and loads of photographs. And what happens then is we get this actual primer bulb, and this just sits on top of this carburetor, and that'll be the top of this carb rebuilt. So the problem I've got here now, with, I'm being honest, is I can get that actual gasket on the right way, but this could go on one of two ways. I could put that on that way, or I could put it on that way, of course, and I can't honestly remember which way it was. So I'm going to get my phone, I'm going to look back at where this goes and where this actual fuel pipe lead goes onto, where the connector is, make sure I get it the right way around before I screw it back together. So you might think you remember everything, but you certainly can't. So I can see from this photograph I took earlier, this actual back part here, this actual part here is that part, and I know that sits on facing here like that. I can put it all back together. I can look at the photograph, I can make sure it's exactly the same, which it is. That's exactly why you take these photographs. I couldn't remember which way around it went, and of course this goes on the same side as I pull these two fuel leads off from this same side of this carburetor. So that's correct. I'm going to drop this metering diaphragm back in, put this on the correct way. So we'll get that there, make sure everything's clean as it goes back on, put that on, make sure it's nice and square. I'm going to get this part here, make sure it's on the right way, pop that on really carefully. I'm just going to look down from the top, down these threads here, make sure I can see cleanly and clearly that everything's nicely lined up down there, which I have. I'm going to grab these screws that were in it originally, that I've kept in the correct place. I'm just going to slightly tighten that one up, and then I'm going to go across to the other corner and tighten this one up, and I hope this is all going to be worth the little sort of 10-15 minutes it's taken me to strip it down, because if this runs right now on full throttle, I've got this for a good few years where I've not got to do any servicing on it, hopefully. And they don't seem to have a great name. If you've got a Ryobi tool, like a strimmer or anything with this sort of carb setup, do me a favour and leave me a comment in the comment section of this video telling me what you think of it, telling me if you think it's rubbish, or if you've had one years, you've had no problems with it. Because I can't see, with these little parts, what the difference might be between this and something more expensive. So I don't see, apart from the still stuff that's really quite dear, they all seem to have this type of carb on, and if it's anything like with these mowers, like 90% of the problem with them is usually the carb. So they're all very similar, and they've got these little metering diaphragms on, and they've all got tiny little holes in them. So I don't understand really at the minute what makes one type of strimmer, or multi-tool if you like, better than the others. So if it doesn't start up, it could just be a poor engine or something like that. Leave me a comment in the comments section anyway. I'll be interested to know your thoughts, especially if you're a gardener and you do use these tools sort of every day. Maybe it's just the way they start up, or the way they run, or the power they've got, I don't know. But that's that back together. So now I've got that there, all clean and tidy, apart from my thumb. I'm going to have a look at this other bottom part of this carb, and we're going to re-bolt this back together as well. So this is the other part I had earlier. This has this actual gasket there. It's like a two-part thing. That one slides over the top. There's actually a little pin there that it sits on. See that little pin? Everything has to be nice and neat, and that all sits there together. Make sure you've got everything exactly where it should go, over these little tiny holes as well. And all these flaps, all these little things make a difference on these little carbs. So I'm going to get that together. I'm going to work out which way around this went, which I think was like that. Yeah, it can only go one way, can that one. I'm going to put that on, make sure it's all lined up, and I'm going to put that one back together as well. Let's try this other way around. Maybe I got that wrong. Just a little bit fiddly to do, aren't they, when you got clumsy fingers like me. But it's not too difficult, is it? So I'll pop that on there. That lines up there. You can see down this little hole here. And hopefully I've got two screws left in this tub, which I have. Pop that one in and start it. Get this last one and put that in. It's only really sort of a 10-minute job. Once I've done this sort of 10 times, I'll be probably able to do this in a couple of minutes. The hardest bit is getting that little spring back in. So I'm going to devise my own little way that I can have a few goes at that without losing the spring. So if this works and the carb's fine, you've kind of saved yourself about £13–15 on a carb. So that's that. And I've got these two parts to put back in, which are the adjusters for the high and the low. So these need to just go in the back of here, and they're actually through this before, so I'm going to leave them through there. But I've cleaned these holes out. I've made sure, absolutely sure that these are clean in here, so I'll pop them back in as well. As I said, that one on the left here has got a really sharp tip on, and this one looks really dull. So do me a huge favour, if you've taken one of these apart that's very similar and you know if that should be the same as that, let me know. I don't think it should, it don't look broken, but I'd be interested to know, if you've done this procedure, what you think about that little part there, because it could be broken, but it kind of doesn't look it. It doesn't look broken off at the end, it just looks rounded off. And pop them in there, and I'm just going to tighten those up. Go back and watch the video clip. I think that one was back 2 turns and that was 1.5. So I've just slid these back in here and I've just started these off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these settings exactly where they were before. This one was backed out, it was just over 2 turns actually, it was nearly 2.25. I'm going to screw it all the way in like this so that it stops, which is there. So there's your quarter if you like, so I'm going to take it back 2 from there, so half, 1, half, and that one's 2. We're going to do the same with this one. This was 1.5 turns out, so I'm going to screw this one all the way in. It's really handy to have a thin driver like this as well, with a really thin end on as well. So I've gone and bought this little tool for some of these, and these are just actually I've got this cut out in. What I was trying to describe earlier was a video where it didn't actually have an adjustment in and you couldn't get hold of it, and this guy on this Steve Saloon thing just hacksawed across the lot, to be honest with you. Made himself a screw hole. So there's your quarter again, so I'm going to take this one out. This was 1.5, so there's half, 1, 1.5, and that's exactly where it was before. The only difference is I don't have these plastic clips on, so when I get this back on I can hopefully get in and just make these adjustments myself. So that's back together. We've got this carb cleaned out and that's serviced, so it's time to put this back on this engine, put this exhaust back on and try this actual leaf blower. So I'm going to refit this carburetor back onto this actual engine now. I've got it all the right way around. See these 2 fuel pipes here? I should probably connect these up first, but I'm going to try doing it without it. Don't know why really, but I am, because I want to show you this linkage here. This actually just pushes, I think it just pushes against this part here, so probably not the best way to do this. Probably a better way, I'm just going to bend it out of the way. See this little part in here? I'm just going to move it out of the way. I'm going to slide that on there. I can always take it off again and connect these fuel lines as well, but I don't want to connect them up and have to kind of wiggle this and tip it about. I'm just going to kind of bend that out of the way, push that past like that. And what I'm going to do now with that push back is I'm going to squeeze this trigger at the top here. You can see my hand just up here. I'm just going to try and pull that. You can see how it all moves, and that's all moving. Everything, you can see all this part here is moving as well, so that's all you need to do there. That's on. I'm going to have to fit this air filter box and put these bolts back through here as well, back through everything through the air filter box. But first of all I'm just going to rehook these fuel lines up. I've actually look at this here, I cable tied these pliers to all this fuel line to stop it leaking, so probably not the best way to do it. So I'll once again I'll kind of do this in real time if you like. I'm just going to push that bottom one off there, just let on the primer bulb there, and I should have got a bit better organised, shouldn't I, really, doing this. So let's just cut that cable tie off there. I really should get myself a decent set of fuel clamps, but for anybody who hasn't, that's kind of a made up way of doing it. I'm just going to push that on there and get this fuel line at the back. Just pull it up onto there, as you can see. It's just starting to come out there, and we've got that on. See how it just moved up there? Pretty sure that went on there. I'm pretty sure this one goes on the top as well. I'm not 100% sure if I'm honest with you, so I could go back and watch my my video clips, but let's just take this out of here. Now I've got that screw out of there, I'm just going to get this here. I'm just going to push that on there. This isn't the best set of grips I've got, but I've got that push back up there. Let's just take that off. Get these needle nose pliers and just push that on a little bit more. And I want to put these on. See that? I want to get those on before I put the air filter box on, because once I put this box back on the front here, I can't really get around the back as well as I want to connect these fuel lines. So I'm going to clean this little box off and we'll put this back on. So I'm just going to slide this back on. I really had that fuel line off. I didn't like the way it was done before. It was all a bit of a mess on the end, if I'm honest. So I cut it off and made it a bit neater and push that back on. I'm going to get that. I'm going to find my magnetic tray, which is here. I'm going to put these parts on here. Tighten this back up. There we go, that's all that back together. And put this filter back in, don't look too dirty, I've just cleaned that off a little bit with the compressor. Put that back in there. This door that I didn't think unhooked does actually unhook at the bottom. So hopefully that'll go back on. Maybe it only unhooks actually, you know, I've put it back on. Probably only unhooks when it comes past this bolt here, this bulk here. See how I can't get this back on? So I might actually have to just take that off again. Hook it on and then bolt it back on. So that's a pain. That's probably why it didn't drop off until after I actually unbolted it. So I'll just take that back off and hook this cover back on. I don't want to tighten these up using this impact drill. Not taking them off. I'm just going to do it with this. So let's just take that off again. And these are the little things that you learn as you go along, I suppose. So I need to hook that door back on there. See there? I'll just make sure that goes together correctly. So I can't get that on once it goes past that point there, so I'll make sure that's on there like that. It hangs down, and then I'm going to bolt this back up together like that. So second time lucky, hopefully I've got that in, I've got this door on, hopefully that'll zip shut. Next job is to put this exhaust back on. So when I can find it, I'll put this exhaust on. Where have I put that? There we go. And it's just remembering how everything went, because I actually dropped these two parts off as well. I'm not sure they're in the correct order, and they actually pushed through this little hole here. So I'm just going to watch the video clip back, make sure when I took this off that I've got these in the right order before I put it back together. So I'm going to put the exhaust back on. I've got this heat shield here. If you remember, that slides underneath here. There's actually like a little notch here that these sit on. This actually slides underneath here. It all came off as one part before, if you remember. That slides under there. I've got these two parts correct. The wider one on the outside, and it pushes in here. It's kind of like on a spring. So I'm going to get one of these bolts and put it back through. Get that back through and push it against the spring. Push one in this hole here. I'm going to do the same with the other side here. Just a little bit fiddly because you're working against this spring, but I think we've got them started. I'm just going to tighten those up. I'll just nip them up. So I'll just refit this spark plug in here. Tighten that back on. And put that back in there like that. I've actually listed a load of NGK spark plugs at the website at Repair Lawnmowers for Profit for all the mowers. I always use these, I've got a box here, these NGK ones, these B2LMs. You either get them or BR2LMs, they both work on the Briggs engines. I've actually listed them at the website. So let's just put that back on there. This just slides back on. I want to do this and put it back together properly before I try it, because it's there for a reason, is that, and I don't want to be burning my hands on this exhaust under here. These get really hot. I've just noticed actually when I was just refitting this, that this actual plug lead here, this is actually run under here. Now I don't know if that's right, because this is sat against this top part of the head of the engine here. So I'm just going to go back on the video. This is why you should take so many photographs. I can't remember if that should sit there or if it's sat over the top, but I don't like the look of that there. So I'm going to look back on my video clips and I'm going to see exactly where it went before I put this part on. So still struggling to get this this little part on here, and I've just checked back on the video clip and this is actually correct around here, but what I've done is I've actually got this heat shield around the wrong way on this exhaust, so it's sticking out further than it should. So I just need to unbolt this exhaust again, take the heat shield off here and turn it around the correct way. I've made a mistake doing that. I always like to tell people when I've made a mistake as well, because I like people to kind of get a feel of what it's going to be like if you start doing these as well. So there's all too many videos of people just getting it right. You know, no one wants to show anything kind of go wrong at any stage, do they? So I'm going to take this exhaust back off and turn this heat shield around and put it back together. So just so you can see what I'm talking about, I actually had that on that way. This heat shield actually goes in that way, it slid underneath and that way across on that notch. So I'd actually done that wrong, which is why I suspected this plug lead was wrong, because it was stopping this actual cover going on. I knew something was in the wrong position, and it wasn't this lead at all, it was just this heat shield head around the wrong way. So I'm going to bolt the exhaust back on now. There we go, that's the exhaust on. Hopefully this cover will bolt back on. So I'm learning as I'm going along. If I ever get something else like this, or the same one, it's so quick to do. It's just the first time you kind of do each one. It just takes a little bit longer than you want it to, but you learn, you know, these little things where you go wrong. You see how that goes back on there now? It was always struggling to push it back on, it didn't feel quite right. Now I know that I've got all these in the right place. I can just put all these screws back in here. So now of course I've rebuilt this, it's absolutely pouring down again. I've got someone coming for a lawnmower in half an hour as well. Oh dear. So that's going to be fun. I've got it back together, so I guess all we can do really, as I stand outside and get soaked, is just fire this up and see if this will run actually with the throttle, with the choke actually all the way off instead of like that, halfway off. So let's give this a try. I'll do what I did at the beginning of the video, and we'll try and get this fired up, and hopefully it'll run at full speed with this choke turned off. Right, so let's give this a go. Just going to prime this like it says 4 or 5 times. I'm going to put it onto full choke, pull it over 3 times, I think it says. Yeah. It says put it over 3 times, put it onto the next level of choke, squeeze the trigger, pull it over, it should start. When it doesn't, let's give it a bit more juice. That's on the middle setting. What I want to do is get it on that setting there. So I've turned it from half choke to full choke off. See if it runs any better than this. Now you can see with this choke completely off, not just half off, I'm getting full power out of this little leaf blower. It was across there before, it was like that. You can kind of hear, that feels like it's choking a little bit. It should be all the way open like that. I'm pretty happy with this leaf blower. I'm trying to show you now, I'm not sure what you can see on the camera, but I'm not on half choke. I'll turn it off of course. I'm actually on full choke, and this thing starts and runs and I'm getting full power. This is my new little venture, as well as lawnmowers, into this type of equipment, this 2-stroke stuff. And I've just basically serviced the carb on that, put it back together, and I'm sure you can see the difference it's made. And it's a great help from our friend in Perth in Scotland, which is Brayshaw's Garden Machinery. I've got him to thank for teaching me a few little bits to do with this as well, plus a lot of YouTube videos you can watch as well. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen here. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to this channel and visit the website, which is Repair Lawnmowers for Profit. There's loads of articles on there now, all about lawnmower repair, and I'm sure there'll be some about equipment like this coming up shortly. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this slightly different style of video. This is a great little buy for £30 and something I'm going to be able to use for a few years to come. Thanks for watching. See you again next time.